My name is Erika Razook, and I'm here on behalf of Amnesty International. Amnesty International has been investigating and reporting on human rights abuses for over 40 years. And one of the most constant themes in our work has been we see the most horrible and worst abuses when there's a culture of impunity for them. And that is what we have seen in this area of private military and security contractors working on behalf of the United States government in countries around the world, and in particular in Iraq and Afghanistan. Literally, there are over 100,000 contractors in Iraq and Afghanistan alone. Numerous reports of human rights abuses, including torture, cruel and inhumane, degrading treatment, and shootings and killings of innocent civilians have surfaced and have even come to light in the Army's own investigations. Yet despite these large numbers of contractors and reports of abuse, we've seen only 2 indictments of abuse by contractors. What I'd like to talk to you briefly about today is the scope of the problem, the lack of prosecution and the environment of impunity for contractor crime abroad, and the solution that Amnesty sees that Congress can take a step towards in the immediate future with the present proposed legislation that's before Congress now. We have been in dialogue with both government agencies that are contracting private military and security firms and with the companies themselves. And we understand that the companies are working in a difficult and complex environment, inherently risky to work in. However, the problem here, and the problem that we see, is that there's virtually no control or oversight over these contracted personnel, which has led to this environment of impunity where a contractor can shoot an Iraqi civilian in the street who later dies and never sees any punishment, redress, or prosecution. It is essential that the Department of Justice prosecute cases of criminal misconduct of contractors. To continue to allow cases of human rights abuses to languish on the court's docket, as they have been in the Eastern District of Virginia, where there's 17 cases of detainee abuse, which have been on the court's docket since 2004, is to sanction impunity and to deny meaningful access to justice to the victims of these abuses. But right now, Congress has an opportunity before it to take a step forward to address this problem of impunity. And that is why Amnesty is supporting Representative Price's H.R. 369 and H.R. 2740. There are 3 crucial areas that these bills address that I will discuss briefly here. First is the expansion of the Military Extraterritorial Jurisdiction Act, otherwise known as MAJA. The expansion would cover contractors who are not only supporting a DoD mission, but contractors whose work is carried out in a region where there's a contingency operation. This is a very important provision because where we've seen the growth of contractors carrying out work for the U.S. government is not in the more intimately DoD-aligned roles, but in ancillary roles such as security for reconstruction projects, even border control, and now there's discussion of contractors working in peacekeeping roles as well. So for these extended functions, it's necessary that Congress extend the application of MAJA so that these contractors do not escape accountability. The second is the enforcement mechanisms that are included in H.R. 369 and 2740. These bills establish an FBI investigative unit which would be on the field in the area of the contingency operation. This will help the Department of Justice to overcome the practical hurdles of investigating cases, securing witness testimony, and locating evidence. The third area is the transparency provisions, which require reporting of the DOJ to Congress on the number of complaints received, the investigations into these complaints of contractor misconduct, the cases that have been opened, the results of the cases that have been closed, and the capacity and effectiveness of the Department of Justice in prosecuting such misconduct. These transparency positions are crucial and vital to ensuring accountability for human rights violations because what we have seen thus far is that Congress does not know, the public does not know, and we at Amnesty do not know why these cases have not been prosecuted. Why have about 3 years passed since the horrendous torture and inhumane treatment at Abu Ghraib, since these pictures came to light, and since the Army investigations indicated that contractor personnel were involved in these abuses, why has there still not been prosecution? These transparency provisions will give Congress the power to further legislate and to ensure that these human rights violations do not go unaddressed. Finally, Amnesty International has previously stated in its 2004 report, Human Dignity Denied, that human rights violations, whether they're committed by military or civilian personnel, should be tried in civilian courts. And these civilian trials should conform, of course, to international standards of fair trial, and the death penalty should not be imposed. And I bring that point up because the death penalty is an option under the UCMJ and under the torture statute. For these reasons, Amnesty International asks members of Congress and you, particularly in the subcommittee who are paying careful attention to this issue, to pass this very important legislation, to close loopholes, and to ensure that there's accountability for human rights violations committed by contracted personnel hired by our government. Thank you.